But how do you know it's on? It doesn't say. Oh, wait a minute. The red light in the front's on the camera, right?
The red dot is
The
on
clock
there.
clicking.
That means it's on, right? Red dot on the camera.
This got both cameras going.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's going.
They finally got it. Thanks. Okay, bye. Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
going to edit the chip there anyhow, so.
I think you're good. Now, do you want me to click record also?
No,
Okay.
the camera does itself. The red light's on, it's recording right now.
Okay.
And we're going to edit this stuff out, so. Okay. So, you did good. Everybody did good. How did anybody fail?
No.
Much more fun than today.
No, y'all did good. Good, because from the other day when I asked that, it was like deer. Like, oh, where is it? Yeah, okay. So now we're doing good. Now we begin. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, we see this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, that's pretty good. Is it not? And in verse 2 says, and the earth became without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So, there's something going on here. Between verses 1 and 2 is a whole creation. A huge creation, as a matter of fact. And we're going to show it to you. But something was going on. And if we go to Isaiah 45:18, Isaiah 45:18, so right there, we begin the process. Let me ask you a question. When God created anything, when He creates anything, how does He create it? Always.
Perfect.
Perfect. Does He ever create it dead?
Never.
Void, without form,
No.
a mess, chaos? No. He always creates it with life. And we're going to show you that. So obviously, between verse 1 and verse 2, something happened because the earth was all those things. All those things. So in Isaiah 45, verse 18, we see this. For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God Himself that formed the earth and made it. He had established it. He created it, not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. So here's two things that comes out right away when God creates things. Number one, He created the earth. Okay, we'll earth, E-A-R-T-H, was created one. What did He say here? He did. It was established, created, not in vain. So not in vain. Yeah, not in vain. So He didn't create it that way. And number two, He says, why He created it.
To be inhabited.
He created it to be inhabited. To be I-T-E-D. So that's what He created it for. So it was never created to be just a dark, waterless planet. I am the Lord. Here He uses the word, I am the Lord, and there's nothing else. So Isaiah 45 tells us these two great things. Well, the word vain here, well, no, not vain. Refers to void, no. In Genesis 1:2, it said, earth was without form and void. Isaiah 45:18 tells us that the Lord did not originally create the earth in such a desolate condition. The word vain in Isaiah 48:18 and term without form in Genesis 1:2 are from the same Hebrew word tohu, or T-O-H-U-W, I don't know how they say it. Genesis 1:2 compared with Isaiah 45:18 rules out God initially making earth as a formless mud ball about 6,000 years ago. So that fantasy never happened. Never happened. Then turning on the work lights and starting the decoration process. It just did not happen that way. So, you know, I mean, that's the fantasy that everybody wants to tell you. Well, God made this mud ball, and then he decides to go ahead and turn the lights on and start creating it. Wrong. Genesis 1:2, the reader is confronted with the first mystery of the Holy Scriptures. A mystery which, when fully understood, reveals why the ancient geologic fossil record is fairly accurate. So, God left a record of everything he's ever done. Right here, right now, right under your feet. And that's the geological record. And if you hold your finger there and turn to the tab this past creation of the universe, this page right here, this chart, this is a geological record. Scientists will tell us, and this is where the scientists and creationists butt heads, and why science says that Christianity is foolish because they don't understand. Well, that's true. Christianity doesn't understand. Because the Earth is approximately 4.6 billion years old. It's in the geological record. And the work that they've done, archaeologists have done, have proven this. Proven it. So if we use their record and apply it to Genesis 1 and Genesis 1:2, we find out the truth. Because something happened here to cause all this to change. All this to change. Let me ask you this. If you were around for, say, 4 billion years, what do you think you would be doing?
Not reading.
Not reading anymore. Well, probably we're reading, but I mean...
Dead. You wouldn't be...
No, I'm talking about what do you think the creation would be like after 4 billion years?
Amazing.
Amazing is a good word for it. Way beyond anything you can imagine. That's right. We're going to show it to you. It's all there. And there were some things in that first creation that we have today. And it's an eye-opener. We're going to get that. But anyhow, so the geological record proves what we're going to say. The fossil record, which God left deliberately to show us. To show us. Now let me ask you this. When God creates anything, he always makes it to be alive, does he not? Mm-hmm. Question. Is water alive?
Yes.
Yes. Why? How do you know? How do you know?
You said when you swirl it, the molecular structure.
That changes the molecular structure. Your prayer will change the molecular structure. Also, it's the greatest solvent in the universe. It's life-giving. Is it not? What about plants? They're all alive. What about clouds?
Well, they have water in them, so you would assume they would be alive, right?
That's right.
You're saying plants may even have a memory now.
Plants have a soul, in a sense. Not the same soul we do, but they do. So we see, and what about rocks themselves? Are rocks
The molecular structure of rocks change.
sometimes goes from molten to hard.
Mm-hmm.
Rocks also are alive because we use them all the time. What about radios?
Okay.
Radios
Crystals.
run on crystals. What are crystals? Rocks. What's the scripture say? That if people don't praise God, the rocks will. Rocks will cry out. Did you know there are singing rocks? Probably you did not know that, did you? In Pennsylvania, they're called the singing rocks. The rocks actually give off a sound, a noise. You can hear it. They're singing. They call them the singing rocks. And there's lots of record left in the rocks.
Is it because of influence of the wind or something that makes you do
No,
that?
they were made that way. They're living things. They're like alive. What about dirt? Say, oh, dumb old dirt. It's dirty stuff.
It's all right.
I don't know, it has nutrients to grow plants in.
It has to be alive or nothing will grow in it. You take the enzymes out of it and it stops fast. So,
Microorganisms, all that stuff's are in dirt.
yeah, what about, and you can go on and on. And David in Psalms questions, he's actually tells those elements to praise God. Clouds, praise God. The wind, what about the wind? Praise God, it's alive. In a sense, it's alive. Everything is. So if that's all the case, then why would God make a mud ball?
Because something happened.
Something happened, correct. Correct. So, anyhow, number one, Genesis 1-2, the reader is confronted with the first mystery, the Holy Scripture, a mystery which, when fully understood, reveals the ancient geological fossil record is fairly inaccurate, and why the account of the literal 7 24-hour days of Genesis 1 is a regeneration of the heaven and the earth and not the original creation. It's a regeneration. Let's quickly review the specifics. The earth was, and that word was, became, and then we found that when we looked it up in the Hebrew, we found that was really a bad translation. It's became. Became refers to it was something before, was it not? Without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So, who was again moving into creation?
The Spirit.
The Spirit was creating again. God says, okay, it's time to wake it up. For this, okay, 2 Peter. Go to 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 5 through 7. 2 Peter, 5 through 7. And you can say, well, why is this so important? Because it gives us the beginning of God's creation, but also it gives us the understanding of how evil entered into the world and how evil came into existence. And God did not create evil. As you'll see. In 2 Peter 3, 5 through 7. Let's start reading it. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire, against the day of judgment and perdition of godly men. So, here we have it right here. The heavens were of old. Okay, now, what's old?
Everlasting.
The heaven.
Right, it's referring to another creation. And he calls here, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was. The world that then was. So, here we go. The world. The first creation. That then was. We'll put this the first. That then was, being overflowed with water, perished. And what was the Holy Spirit brooding over or over?
Over the waters.
Over the waters. It was flooded, wasn't it? So this first creation was destroyed with a flood. Flood. Okay. And of course, if this covered the water, it makes it pretty darn dark, doesn't it? Also, he did something else. He turned the lights out. He shut the sun off, too, as well. Or at least kept it out of the sun. Being overflowed, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, referring to what? Another creation. That's the first. Now we have the second one. This is Adam. Adam's creation. There we go. This would be the second. That's the one now he's talking about. Adam's creation.
That was the third.
By the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. Well, actually, the Adam now he's talking about, it could be the third creation, because we're already in the third.
Because when it was
When
it was void and without form, that was the second creation, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. That's the second. Well,
No, the second creation.
yeah, he's right. I got this wrong. Second. And that's when you begin, and that should be right. This should be wrong here. This is Noah. This is the third creation. That's the one he was talking about now. I had that right or wrong, I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. This is Adam's creation, the second creation. The third creation was Noah's creation. And that's what we're in now. And there's a fourth creation coming. After the great white throne, be new heaven, new earth. The old earth will be burned up, gone. Just, what we're on right now will be gone, be burned up, gone. Complete zip. Without form is the Hebrew word tuhu. Tuhu. It's really tahu. From an unusual root meaning to lie waste, a desolation of surface, desert, figuratively a worthless thing, verbally in vain, confusion, empty place, without form, nothing, not naught, vain, vanity, waste, wilderness. So there we go. Without form, Genesis means it was a wilderness. It was just covered with water. There was nothing there. Everything was gone. Every living thing was gone. Completely. The word void is 922, and that's bohu. Tuhu and bohu. And that word void means to be empty, to be undistinguishable, ruin, emptiness, void. So there you go. So that's what it had become. Empty, void, lifeless, covered with water, floating around there for about, how many years was this?
4.3
4.3 years.
billion years.
Let's put a few billions on
1.6.
it. Let's put a few billion on it. Let's put, no, 0.542
42
million years it was in darkness. Yep. Yeah, 542 million.
Right, so basically, at 4.3 billion, he did that and made it void and without form.
Right, at 542, that's when the Cambrian explosion came, and that's where Lucifer was booted. That's where he did this. So there we see the void without form comes from. In Genesis 1:2, the earth is said to be a lifeless, uninhabitable planet drifting in the cold and darkness of the chaotic remains of the old universe. So not only was the world dark, but this whole galaxy, which had been alive at one time, all the planets in here weren't dead like they are now. They were alive. They were inhabited.
And that's when, that was all during the first creation though.
The first creation, as we'll get to it. The planet is submerged in water, and water also rage around it and across a ruined universe abyss. As you study the root word definitions in English translation of the King James Bible, a picture emerges of a former world that once existed on earth but now is totally destroyed and dead. Taking the words of the Bible at face value, because it's a literal, what kind of translation?
It's a literal translation.
It's a literal translation. The Bible's literally translated, not allegorically. Unfortunately, too many people, they still use the allegorical method. That's why they don't understand any of this stuff, because it's literal.
All coming from the LXX.
That's right. Taking the words of the Bible face regarding objects, several facts become clear. I can turn the page. And Genesis 1, verse 3 through 5. Well, we're going to start. Genesis 1, verse 3 through 5. Some facts become into play here. One, the context of time placement in Genesis 1:2 is one verse before God says, "Let there be light." Here he begins the creative process of the famous 7 days. So, the earth, this world here before the flood was the literal 7 days. It took God 7 days to create it. Just boom, 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 boom. Just like that. And of course, as we're going to find out, where was Adam created?
Where? In the garden?
No.
In heaven.
No. No. Adam wasn't created in the garden.
So he was created on earth, but not in the
The
garden.
garden wasn't created yet.
Right.
Adam and, now here's where the boat's going to rock, folks. Adam and at least 3 or 4 other species of human were created. And that comes from the Book of Enoch, Book of Jasher, Book of Jubilee.
And they talk about the land of Nod.
Right, and I never could understand that, how when Cain slew Abel and he took out, went to the land of Nod and found a wife over there, and they say, oh, that was Adam's or his sister. No, I don't.
That was other beings that were created that weren't in the garden.
They weren't in the garden, as we'll see. As we'll see. That answers the question. See? Because we have the God race in the garden. You have the human race outside the garden.
Right.
That's the difference.
And they might not have been created in God's image either.
Doesn't say, but it's possible they were. I would think they were, pretty much. And probably were three-part persons, but they weren't taken specifically to be God's, the God race, or to present God, because Jesus walked, you know, whatever. Anyhow, there's a lot of stretch here, and you have to read those other books to get it. And you can accept it if you want to, or you don't have to accept it. Doesn't matter. Before God says, let there be light, Genesis 1:1, there was already things present that must have been previously created. Okay, isn't it true? Specifically, there was water. What's water made up of?
Hydrogen and oxygen.
Sure, so those are elements that was already in existence, and water was already there. That had already been created. There is the earth composed of what?
A pyramid of elements and compounds.
Right. They were all in place. They were already had been created. In the solid form recognized as a planet, which had already been assigned a proper name. So it had been, he made a planet and given it a name already. Every planet out there had a name. Every star has a name. We can't name them all, but they're there. Okay? That was already in existence. God had already done that. There was a universe. All there. Third and very important thing is there is something else already present at this time, darkness. What's darkness here? And it is not just physical darkness, an absent light, but also spiritual darkness, the absence of holiness and harmony. God creates always with holiness and harmony. Everything harmonizes. There was no harmony there.
And that's because Lucifer fell, messed everything up.
All right, the darkness, and it's Hebrew 28:22, misery or death, and wickedness is darkness. So wickedness. Okay? So it was just more than just lights out. It was a whole sense of darkness, of evil darkness over it. With all these facts are taken into account, the following inescapable truths stand out. One, the planet Earth and the ruined universe were already in existence before the creative process of Genesis 1:3. It was already there. That's inescapable through 31. Ever begins. Earth had already existed for an unspecific period of historical time. It already had been there because, all right, in theory, then why was there water? Why was there a planet named? Why was there a universe around it? If this is when God created everything, then why is all this here?
Because it's not the first time.
No, it's not. That's right. The conclusion is any logical person reading this and begins to think about this has to say the scientists are right. This was something else here. It's been around for a while, a long while.
Just the dinosaurs alone, nobody's ever been able to answer that question.
No, they're from the first creation, I think.
And Christianity.
They're in the first creation. And of course, when they got flooded, they got killed then. And it proves it, because what happens with the dinosaurs? When they find a lot of dinosaurs,
They're all together, all in one
yeah,
place.
but they were done instantly. It was like an instant. Boom. And when God flooded the earth and took away the light, what would that be? Lights out, instant, everything freezes solid instantly. Boom.
Yeah, because without light, there's no heat. So that would have turned that liquid into ice.
Solid ice. So God already started the thaw process somewhere. When he took off, so that's why the dinosaurs were caught instantly, because they're from the first creation. They're not from our creation. There's two reasons why. There's another reason why scientists will tell you this. The dinosaurs couldn't exist today. There's not enough food for them. When you get a 65-foot tall T-Rex, what are you going to feed it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
cows.
and brontosaurus, all these huge things. The plants were different. The atmosphere was different.
I saw something too before that says the trees were way huge, way
Right.
not even
They were different
comparable to today's trees.
because the pressures weren't there that are here now. And what pressure did they go under? Put the whole earth under that much water. Guess what it does? Can you imagine the weight of it?
Compressed.
Oh, yeah, compressed. So anyhow, just that. The physics of time, space, and matter already existed. Yeah, time, space, and matter were already in existence, which by extension means that the process which regulates radioactive decay, the half-life principle, was also functioning and valid. At some indeterminate time in history past, death and the powers of darkness first came into being. And this happened before the 7 days, before the creation of man. And Adam, ask yourself the question, when God made the garden, he put 2 trees in it. One a tree of life, and one the knowledge of good and evil. What evil was the knowledge in that tree holding?
That was about Lucifer and the fallen angels
The
and
first creation.
There's no other explanation.
There's no other explanation because it wasn't here.
Right, where could that evil have come from?
right,
That's
that was
exactly.
the first. If the garden time was the first creation, there wouldn't have been any evil.
That's right. And the first garden, there was no evil. Uh-oh, I let slip. There's 2 gardens. Uh-oh. Bad me. I'm going to show you that. There were 2 gardens. The first creation is a copy. This is a copy of the first creation. There was 2 gardens, 2 Babylons. Anyhow. And that clarifies some scriptures that you never could rectify. Prophecies, yeah. There was 2 gardens.
So there's 2 trees, the tree of knowledge and the tree.
There probably wasn't no knowledge. In the first garden, there wasn't tree of knowledge of good and evil.
It's probably just a tree of
Because
life.
there was no evil.
Right.
Lucifer hadn't fallen yet. Yet. Okay? We'll get into that. Okay. Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, God creates the earth. In the very distant times past, the Lord God first created the heaven and the earth, Genesis 1:1. But when the heaven and earth are spoken of in Genesis 1:2, it is a ruined, lifeless state. There is a vast gap in historical time between those 2 verses of the Bible. A gap on the order of possibly a 400 billion year gap, by the way. In Genesis 1:1 we have the glorious heaven and earth, and 2 we see a decimated heaven and earth. The bulk of the geological column fits in between verses 1 and 2, and the geologic time marker of Genesis 1:2 is the very end of the Pleistocene chart. Okay, now go to your chart, and you're going to see it. Go to your chart, and over here, thank you archaeologists, you've laid it all out for us. You made it so easy. I'm going to explain this chart. It's a little hard to read at first. Okay, here's, as far as we know, God began, when he came out of the everlasting whatever, however, 4.6 billion years ago, he created the first, when the first universe was created, and the first earth and all that, back then. It went for 4 billion years. Those societies, can you imagine what they were like? 4 billion years of worshiping God, no evil, nothing to hinder you, and nothing bad going on. What could you accomplish in 4 billion years?
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. Beyond your wildest imagination, what could happen. But, as we see here, when we get down to the place where Lucifer felt we think the Phanerozoic era, epic, or eons, right here, all this is contained in this eon.
Right.
Okay? So now, what we're looking at, the green, is at 4.5 down at the bottom here. That's where we believe Lucifer was cast out and the flood came, and the first flood came. That's where darkness came upon the whole creation right there, we believe that.
Right here at the Cambrian explosion.
Because later on in the other map I'm going to show you, prior to this time in the fossil record, there were no fossils much. They were just stones and rocks. But after this, there was all kinds of higher life forms in there. Their skeletons and everything, which not here, but suddenly right here they appear, and the scientists can't figure out why. Well, we know why. The fall. That's why.
Right, because that's where they came, was here.
Right. Now, if you just turn back, we'll have to look at this. Turn back to this page here. Ta-da! Here we go. This explains it even better. You're going too far. Keep going the other way. You went the wrong way. Keep going. Keep going.
It was only like
Keep
2
going.
pages ahead of the page that
Keep
you were
going.
on.
Keep going.
That one, yep, right there.
Right there. There you go. You see the green part at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
The Cambrian explosion, 500 to 600 million years ago, they say. And if you look here, and if you read this, it tells you suddenly in the see this down here, this sediment rock, and this comes out of one of the best places to see this is in the Grand Canyon. This is where they kill all this stuff. Down here, there's nothing in the fossil record, just stones and dirt and everything. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes this explosion, and suddenly the fossils appear. Massive fossils. See, that's where that little thing is, and they call it the Great Unconformity. That's what they call it in science, and that's where the fossil record begins. Prior to that, there wasn't anything. So in other words, for a fossil, it had to be alive one time and then die. The bones and all this stuff of these higher, and these are the higher life forms too. Vertebrates and all that stuff. So they appeared suddenly, and scientists still can't figure it out. Well, we know why. Because of this, what we're talking about, the flood, the first creation. That's what it is. No question about it. So thank you, scientists, because you just proved what the Bible says. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the creationists are foolish, I say, because you can't deny the record, and if you understood Genesis 1 and 2, then you would say, okay, the 7 days, they say the Earth's only 7,000 years old. Not so. That's 4.6 billion or 5 billion years old, at least. At least. The end of the Pleistocene, about 13, hold the chart and that, hold it, about 10,000 years ago, shows evidence of a global extinction event and the severe drop in global temperatures. So it's possible, now turn back to your chart here. If it could be that it even went further than, again, this is not 100% that it was a Cambrian explosion, but more likely it was. But if you look to the far right, on the top it says epochs, and it talks about this Pleistocene era, 13 to 10,000 years ago, and there was an extinction there. Something happened there. And then the Holocene, the end of that is where the creation began, where Adam began. Right?
Approximately 7,000 years ago.
About 7,000 years ago. Yeah. So you see, it was a drop in the bucket compared to what time had gone by already. So again, pretty much, it shows it there. It shows us there. So let's return to the creation for the answer. For the answer to all this stuff. Of course, our galaxy was, first of all, let's go to Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14. Now some things will come into play and begin to explain or unravel this mystery. Well, now we're saying, and of course, if you just hold your finger there for a second and go to this chart here, now you see the first creation, and now you see the void and darkness. It's here in your chart. Oh, chart, okay.
I'm just trying to get Isaiah 14.
Oh, okay, sorry. So there you see the first creation. The golden age, we could call it, even the way it's down here.
when that was, until the fall, everything was
Perfect.
perfect.
Everybody worshiped God, even Lucifer, as you'll see. Lucifer was a busy boy up there. Isaiah 14, starting at verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Here he's called son of the morning, not the morning star.
Right.
And in the counterfeit versions, they take that out and say the morning star. Then they go to Revelation and show you the morning star is Jesus. So over here they're saying that Jesus is Lucifer, and he was cast out of heaven, and Lucifer is God. See? That's the twist. But when how they're cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations. So right off we see, well, we'll get into this in greater depth, but we know in the first creation now, from this verse, I'm going to erase this, there was something there. What was it? It was another eye-opener for anybody who wants to read it and understand it. There it is. Put this down. Isaiah 14, 12 on. First thing that comes up there were what? What's it say? What's it say? It weakened nations.
Yep.
So in that first creation, there were nations. That meant they were what? Societies. Let's see, I spell society, S-O-C-I.
E-T-I-E-S.
E-T-I-E-S. They're societies. Or nationalities even.
Different peoples.
They were different peoples. They were nations, which meant there were more than two on earth. Did weaken the nations. For thou hast said in thine heart, and here's the 5 I wills. I will sit upon the throne, and you will have to memorize these, and we'll get to it for testing time. I will
Ascend into heaven.
I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Who are the stars of God?
The angels.
The angels. And what angel did he specifically point this at?
Jesus.
What angel did he specifically appoint this at?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Who is the highest created angel?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Who's the top dog of all angels?
Wisdom.
Not Lucifer. Wisdom. I was always taught Lucifer was. No, wrong. Wisdom. He's the first thing created, and Lucifer didn't like it. And he said, I'm going to be over him. And I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation on the sides of the north. Oh, that's another thing. And I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High God. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall then look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, shake the kingdoms, that made the world a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof? Thou opened not the house of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, even one in his own house. Well, let's see, 16. Yeah, okay, so I went through 16. But there, we're going to break all this down in greater detail. We also know how Lucifer now destroyed the earth back then. That first creation, he destroyed it. The whole thing, made it a wilderness. You know how he did it? It's in the Enoch and Jasher.
It goes into more detail?
Yeah, it goes in detail.
Wow.
They destroyed it with nuclear explosions, and and we can prove it today. They've proven it. Some of the sites where these old cities used to be, even back then, still give off radiation, and they use nuclear bombs. They destroyed the whole earth with nuclear bombs. Back then, they knew how to make them.
Wow.
How to make nuclear explosions. And of course they, well, if you've been around for 4 billion years, what do you think they were doing?
Yeah, they probably didn't. They knew how to do everything.
Well, they probably had stuff even greater than what we have today. Today, we have nuclear bombs. We have one that's 5,000 times stronger than what we dropped on Hiroshima. The Russians have the super bomb. They have one that's 100,000 times bigger.
All they gotta do is detonate one of those, and the earth is gone.
They just released that information the other day that they go undetected. You can't even detect them with our
Well, that's what they're trying, yeah, because, well, that's another whole story. You see, they, as I've said all along, don't listen to the chicken on top of the fox's head. The chicken just gonna, that's North Korea yapping and carrying on. They're doing exactly what China wants them to do. China can't do it, but they can. China is the wolf. Watch the wolf, forget the chicken. And so, and this is what happened. They told both, and that's Putin just made that statement for a reason. Both China and Russia have said to our warmongering government here that if we attack North Korea, both nations will attack us with nuclear devices. Both.
I heard that. And now they just, with President Xi over there in China, now he's got them going through the government so that he's not held to the term limits. They usually have 5 years, they can do 2 terms, and he just entered his 2nd term, and they're trying to wipe out his term limits.
I mean, for the Chinese, yeah.
For the
Chinese, so he can
Yeah.
be emperor forever or whatever.
Well, that's it. So the thing is, the United States is in a very precarious place right now. We can't do anything because if we make a move, we're going to get to, and I'll tell you, Russia has so many different kinds of nuclear bombs. We don't stand a chance. When I was in the military, I built bombs and I had to study nuclear bombs, put them on planes, so I know a little bit about this stuff. Not good, folks. Not good. You need to be praying. Church has to repent in this country to save the country. Because if we make one false move, the bombers that fly around us, the Russian bombers, have these Kia bombs on them, and we don't stand it. They can shut down our electric grid in minutes. We will go into darkness for forever.
We're the only ones now, the grid,
Yeah.
the only country right now, I think.
The Russians have all their planes still fly the old way. All of ours are high technology. Their planes will keep flying, ours won't. They'll drop out of the sky like crazy. But my advice to everybody, the scripture says a wise man prepares when he sees evil coming.
Another thing I've done a little research on in the past week is these cell phone towers.
Yeah.
These cell phone towers have 400 times
Mm.
as much microwave ability as a regular microwave. And somebody took one of those mechanics out of a microwave and showed just that, what that one microwave, the bomb that you can create from a microwave.
Yeah. And some of the cell towers aren't cell towers at all.
Right,
They're actual weapons.
right.
Governments are placed all over the country.
All the Wi-Fi.
Because we have inside information, so I can tell you.
Lord help us if we go to 5G.
Well, as I said, a wise person prepares. First thing you need to prepare is spiritually. The second thing, you need to prep. Get into prepping and big time and fast, because it's coming so fast you can't imagine what's about to happen.
By prepping, you mean storing food, storing water, seeds.
Prepper. Why do you think we have
You're
the?
gonna have time to grab your wallet.
Why do you think we have that prepper group back there? Yeah, we have a prepper group, a Christian prepper group. I suggest you all get involved before it's too late. Learn. You're going to need skills. You're going to need to learn. I grew up as a kid in Boy Scouts, and our scoutmaster had been in World War II, and he taught us survival. How to take a knife and a pack of matches and go in the woods and survive. And they used to take us to the range as Boy Scouts. We practiced with guns and everything else. And we learned gun safety and all that stuff. But anyhow, yeah, there's lots of things you need to be preparing for to learn about. And you need to learn skills.
The EMPs.
And that's what do you think that is? That's a Faraday cage. That's why we keep cameras in it. It's a Faraday cage. A garbage can. And it's very easy to make. Y'all should have one. And you need to get your radios.
What do you do with it?
What do you do with it?
It protects the
That protects
electronic
from
from
the EMP.
EMPs.
Yeah.
What is it?
A Faraday cage. It's called a Faraday cage. See, that's what I say. You need to learn about prepping and prepare what you can. Radios, I'll tell you, if you're going to buy a radio, you need to do it now. It's about $30.
A radio,
Mhm.
like a battery operated radio?
No, this is a two-way radio.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
a Bofang, and right now you can get them.
They're shortwave radios.
Yes, that's right, and they're about to change them, so the ones that we have right now, yeah, turn it on, thank you. Ones we have right now are superior because one radio does it all. The government's changed it now, and they're about to stop making them, so you'll have to buy a different radio for different frequencies. That's to shut you out. But we've got them. We got special antennas. We can reach the whole state. Yep. On a little handheld radio, my little handheld radio.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had ham radios.
where do you get
You
them?
can get them on Amazon, but we get them through a supplier right here in Florida.
Hey, there's a guy right here,
What
right
do they run?
by where we
$30.
live that sells all that stuff.
Plus, you gotta have $10 to have a program. See, the problem is you buy the radio, but you gotta have a special disc in Chinese to program it. And that's very hard. So our guy, who is electronics, does all that. So I would suggest if you're all interested, get your radios. I just bought.
Or if you could get one of the older ham
Can they
radios.
be deprogrammed?
No, well, they'll stop working, I suppose, but no, not necessarily. You can't use a ham radio because you have to be licensed and everything. But when the collapse comes in, don't matter. But still.
Right. When I was a kid, we used to talk to like China and Italy and
Mhm.
with a ham radio.
Unless you have a license.
So-
Ham radio.
Oh, okay.
The
That's the
shortwave, so.
shortwave
So what happens
frequencies.
is the frequencies do this on the clouds.
Yeah.
Instead of just like a long wave shoots through the clouds and gets lost.
Okay, radio wave works like this. It's going all the time. There's radio waves everywhere. All you need is an antenna. Takes you 20 minutes to make one. Block here, wire that way, connection to your radio, boom. When our guy was training us, all at the house, we made one in 20 minutes and reached France. We reached Madagascar, reached all over the United States in 20 minutes. It took us 20 minutes to build that.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot more about this stuff. We won't get into it. So if you're all interested, I suggest you need to get involved in this stuff before it's too late.
How often do you guys meet?
Well, let's put it this way.
More than they used to.
Because I mean, even food and stuff like that, if you get the big buckets of food and all that, water, you know, the water purifiers, the straws and all that,
Mhm.
it's gonna be bad.
Well, you have
People are
to.
gonna try to kill you for your food.
Well, if you're, there's a lot to it. Let me tell you.
If you're unprotected.
How often do you guys meet?
Well, they're,
When do you want to meet?
That's the question.
When do you want to meet? When we're done tonight, I'll show you. I'll show you what's back there, and I'll show you some other stuff, and then you all decide. Because we have a range we can go to. We have a private gun range we go practice on. We do all kinds of training courses, and water purification, all kinds. There's always water. Even you got nothing with water if you know how to do it. And anything. One of the funniest things, and I'll just say this real quick. You get it. Let's say you find a can, but you got no way to open it. How do you open a metal can with no opener? All right, you take and you find a hard surface. You turn, in most of your cans, the top's put on, it's sealed on. Tuna can especially, turn it upside down and do this, hard. A minute or so,
And that'll wear the
squeeze the
ring
can,
off.
wears the ring out, pops right off and open.
Really?
That's the trick. Yep, that's all you know. Well, we don't get into that because prepping is, I've been doing it for years and years and I've been teaching courses for years on stuff and orienteering, how to use a compass.
but still, it's very hard to prepare for something like that.
Not really, it just depends how much time, and money and effort you want to put into it.
Yeah. Back, how long ago did we do it?
2 years?
But the thing is it's the knowledge. You need to learn the knowledge and how to use it.
A few years ago, we stored away food, seeds,
I was on him, because I felt like the Lord was telling me, you need to get something ready, and
Yeah.
he fought me tooth and nail, but I got one tub full of stuff from him,
With enough seeds there to feed quite a few people to get started.
but the seeds don't last forever.
Yeah. And you're gonna find all kinds of little things in Florida that you never hear about on all the prepper stuff. Oh no, you need to check your food sources constantly. One of the things, suddenly, you'll have all your food packed away nice, everything in containers and everything. You go in one day and open up, it's full of moss. Full of moss. Where'd they come? Moss will chew through anything, and they also have a way to get up through the seals, and they get into stuff and contaminate it. We've just, our supplies got hit. We learned this. We're still fighting moss in the house. That's one thing we learned. Another thing is, meals in a jar. We teach you how to do that, how to make meals in a jar, and then when the time comes. And then use a shrink wrap thing. Put food in, like we made macaroni with, you put your oil and everything in it. Thought it was going to be good. Open one up and it's rancid. Why? Because the macaronis are hard and it's just a little tiny pinhole. You won't even see it. Pinhole. It's gone. That whole bag's gone. Lost. Glass is very good. Glass is very good.
But you can't really carry all this stuff if you have to go on the run.
No, but you need a bug out bag. You know about bug out bags?
The ones that you put on the run.
Right, it's called a bug out bag, but you need to have bug out bags made, ready to go. You grab it. You need actually several. You need one for the house. You need one for your car. You need a bug out bag in your car at all times.
But you can't drive your cars because they're all electronic.
It doesn't matter. Supposing you're on I-4, 10 miles away from your house, everything goes cold.
down.
Now you got to walk 10 miles.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you
Keep it in
grab,
your car.
and in your bug out bag, you need a good pair of walking shoes. Number one. Well, there's some things, it's small, but you can put in. Then you have a bug out bag from home. It's endless stuff that we could teach you. But Christians really need to wake up.
So when's the class tomorrow?
We have to set aside time for it. We've done them. And the other group, see, you gotta understand, I was in Oath Keepers and I was a regional director for 10 chapters. I had 10 groups, and I also was the trainer for the whole state, all the Oath Keepers stuff. Plus I was in the militia in New York for a long time. I was a colonel in the militia. And I trained people in boot camps.
Oath keepers and promise keepers are two different things.
Well, Oath Keepers are, they keep the promise. Oath Keepers are not what they pretend to be these days, but when I was in it, so I mean, I got the background. Let you guys know, but we need to stay on this. And if you guys want to talk about the other thing, then we can do other thing another time. Usually we do it on Saturdays and stuff. And one night, well, they do like one night a month, and they train all kinds of stuff, everything from best knife to have, to how to purify water, to how to make seeds, put seed in your sprouts,
Germinate.
Sprouts, stuff like that, how to grow things. People think in 40, run out there and throw the seed in the ground, it's going to grow. Not going to happen.
You gotta get it spread.
There are more predators you could ever think about. The biggest one we face here is two biggest ones, is blight, and then the vine worms. And the moth lays a little tiny egg on the vine. You don't know it goes in the vine, and the worm eats the vine inside out, and you can't grow anything. I know. That's how I know. You saw over there I got. Oh yeah, I'm working on hydroponics now. I went through aquaponics, and my goal is to raise enough food to feed 100 people. And of course, refuge centers. You know what a refuge center is?
FEMA camp?
No. Refuge center is for people like us. When things go bad, you need to bug out. You need to go someplace where you all can, because groups survive better than individuals do. As an individual, you're dead. I can tell you a lot of horror stories. We won't get into that. Okay, Isaiah 14:4. Back to 14:4. And it talks about thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Anyhow, the king of Babylon, who's the king of Babylon? Lucifer. And which Babylon is he talking about?
First Babylon.
The first Babylon. In the first creation. We'll get to that too. Ezekiel 28. See, this is the thing about these things. You start out with one thing, we get off another thing, and sidetracked. Now I got to edit all that stuff out.
Ezekiel 28.
Ezekiel 28, verse 11 through 19. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation against the king of Tyrus. Who is the king of Tyrus?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. Or Satan, saying to him, Thus saith the Lord, Thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. And I'm not going to read through all that because we're going to come back to each one of these things in great depth.
Now it says here, thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God, but that was during the first creation.
Of course. And they
Not the
always want to
second.
say it's this creation over here. But why is it talking about stuff the way it is here? The Garden of Eden, there was another Eden.
And God would have never said that everything in the garden was good if Satan had been there.
Exactly. Now, prove the point. I gotta go and prove it. Ecclesiastes. Remember, prove the point. We're gonna jump. See, this is where we jump. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Now, the question is, do you believe the word of God, or do you not?
Yes.
And Ecclesiastes 1, starting at verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it's may be said, see, this is new, it hath already been, of old time. That's where you want to underline. Old time, which was before us. They're referring to the first creation. There is no remembrance of former things. And God says there's no remembrance of it. Neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. It's right after Proverbs. If you're hunting. So there you have it. There you have it. The thing hath been, it shall be. Now go to chapter 3, verse 15. Again. That which has been is now. See, this all sounds pretty, it's like, whoa, what is tongue twisters? That which has been is now. And that which is to be hath already been. And God requires that which is past. There you go. Bingo. Read it, you close, think about it. Anything that has been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. There's nothing new under the sun. There's no new garden. It already was once.
Okay, so what you're saying there is, just as the first creation was taken down by nuclear weapons, that's going to be probably the end of this creation.
I have no idea about that.
All we know is it says by fire.
That would make fire.
Well, yeah, but what you're trying to mix now is apples and oranges. When God recreates a new heaven and new earth, He'll burn it up. It won't be with nuclear fire, it'll be His just speaking. But there will be nuclear devastation during the tribulation period. And it's got nothing to do with it. What He's talking about here is the creation before. There was a what? There was a garden. There was an Eden. In the first creation. And then when God began to recreate, He made Eden again. Eden.
Third.
Second.
Second. because Noah comes after Adam.
Alright, so there was two Edens.
Okay.
There was two Babylons. All of it. And that makes sense, because when we get into there, how can the world, could Lucifer be in these places when he wasn't? Because he doesn't exist no more. He's gone. He's fried, folks. He is fried to a crisp.
Dust in the wind.
He's a dirty wind. And of course, Isaiah 14:3 talks about the stars, and in referring to the angelic kingdom over here. Lucifer was above, and he wanted to rule over them. In Job chapter 2, go to Job chapter 2, verse 1. Job chapter 2, verse 1. Again there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Who are the sons of God here?
The angels,
Which ones?
princes.
The princes. The sons of God, or the princes of God. Remember, in God's kingdom, in God's kingdom there's a hierarchy. What do you think Satan copies? Well, the princes came. And what do princes do?
Rule over.
Rule some part of God's kingdom. You say, well, I don't believe that. Well, then how come when Daniel was praying for 3 weeks, waiting for the answer, and the prince of Persia withstood the angel that was trying to bring through the message? The prince who ruled over that whole territory. So they're rulers. Reading on. Present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. So why was Satan allowed to present himself?
Because he was a prince.
He's a prince. Still a prince. No longer Lucifer prince, but now he's Satan prince. And he's a prince over what?
Earth.
No.
Yeah.
No. Over his kingdom. And remember the page I gave you and told you it was a more powerful revelation than you even understand yet about how Satan's kingdom is organized? That's it.
Is Satan's kingdom exposed?
That's right. That's a revelation, folks, went way back, where God exposed what his kingdom, how his kingdom is put together. And if you start learning to use that in your prayer time and your warfare prayers, you will see results.
Is in here.
It's actually look, it was a separate handout.
It's a handout.
This one.
Should have
Satan's
a
kingdom
handout.
exposed. He gave it to you last Friday.
Oh, was that the one you guys had in Sunday school?
No, I didn't. It's on that page. It's on that one
This
right
one?
there. Keep
Okay,
going to the
okay.
very back.
Okay.
Open up the very back. Turn,
Oh.
turn back a
Satan's
page.
kingdom,
There
one
you
more
go.
page, yep.
Okay.
Let me tell you how powerful that is. In our ministry,
Oh,
one,
yes.
one of the guys, his name is Kenny, Bidwell's my guy. Kenny was praying against the prince over Broome County, New York. And he'd been praying against him. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. He had the old telephones, you know, back in those days. Phone rings. He picks the phone up and a deep voice says, "Stop praying." Huh? What do you mean? Stop praying. And this is strange how they did it. It didn't appear. He just called them on the phone. And so Kenny, you can say, well, who's this? And he said, I'm the prince you're praying against over Broome County. Stop praying. He was using those that there. And we were attacking that thing. That's it.
I bet he didn't stop, did he?
No, that's even was, let's go more, boys. Yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah. They can appear, I mean, they're angels, they can appear if they want to. One can appear right here in this bodily form if he wants to. You know, God's angels can appear if God allows them to.
They probably do, and some of them you don't even know.
Well, that's true, the scripture does say that. But also, the other side appears too,
Yeah.
and you don't even know.
Yeah, definitely.
And all you gotta do is look
I've
and
seen those.
You have?
When we were on vacation in Ireland,
Uh-huh.
we were kind of losing our way. My sister, you know, she's like praying or whatever. And this guy comes up and goes, "There she is," and he pops on the sidewalk, and he's got a case or whatever. He goes, "How can I help you ladies today?" You know, he's talking to my sister. And I was the guarded one, like, all right, he's going to do something to my sister. And he goes, "Okay, if you girls don't need anything, you have a blessed day." He just disappeared. So then we kept on walking. We kind of said, "Okay, we'll go back the other way." So we turned around, we went back the other way. And I was standing on the corner, and I had my nose in a map trying to figure out where we were going. And my sister was standing on the corner because she was just sitting there. Well, this lady pops around the corner. She gets right in my face. She goes, "How may I help you?" I said, "Well, how may I help you?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I'm here to help you." I go, "Well, then you must be an angel." She goes, "Perhaps." She goes, "How may I help you?" I said, "Well, we're trying to go here, whatever." As soon as she told us, she just disappeared. My sister and I looked at each other. We're like, she disappeared. Where's this woman? Because I was going to say thank you to her after she told us where to go, and she was gone.
You know, what's the first thing you should have said? There's something you should have said first. Before you take anything, is Jesus Christ your Lord? So I gotta say, is Jesus Christ your Lord? And then shut your mouth and wait for an answer. If it's-
She was very angelic, though. I mean, she
Does
was,
it matter?
it was. She told us where to go. It was amazing.
Because if it's God's angel, he won't be offended. If it's a false one, you know, he'll either get offended or just poof. But that's the question. Is Jesus Christ your Lord? And if he says yes, say, okay, great, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Lord, for sending me in, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Oh yeah, you have to test the spirits. The scripture tells you so in John, 1 John. First question out of your mouth should be, is Jesus Christ your, if you suspect that, is Jesus Christ your Lord? And they won't get offended if it's God's angel. No. If it's not, you just saved yourself a lot of trouble. Right. But anyhow, that's just another thing of angels being manifest. So here we see Satan coming as a prince. He's a prince over his kingdom, and he goes before the throne of God. In Ezekiel 28:16, see that? Well, we didn't go through 16. Ezekiel 28:16. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before my eyes. I don't know why that's in there. That's a mistake, I guess.
You said,
20.
You said Ezekiel 28,
Oh yeah,
16?
yeah, I'm going 38. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Because I'm here, and I'm like,
By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. So there you go. That's what happens to him. He gets destroyed. So Lucifer, in his state, which we haven't got to yet, he's prince, and as Lucifer, what was his job, by the way, in heaven?
He was a light bearer.
Right, he was a light bearer on the throne of God. And what kind of an angel was he?
Worship angel.
No, what kind of angel was
servant.
he? What is it?
So was he a service angel?
No, cherub. And what do they say cherubs are today?
Cute little thing flying out with bows.
Yeah, little bear bum
Valentine's
baby.
Day, arrows.
No, the cherubs were warriors, right?
No, they're higher than that.
Okay.
They're higher than that, and they're very powerful. You don't want to monkey with them. I mean, so when Lucifer fell, God replaced him, and he replaced that cherub with other cherubs. He put two. Instead of one, now there's two, and they face one another to make sure neither one gets out of line. Ark of the Covenant, the two cherubs. Right?
Yeah.
And they found the Ark of the Covenant. We know all that. The two cherubs. So God in heaven, there's two cherubs over there watching one another now. Not just one like there was. So anyhow, Lucifer is a cherub, the anointed cherub, it's called, he's called. Cherub. You go there, I gotta go back to that again.
Yeah, thou art the anointed cherub
Yeah,
that covereth.
that's right. That would be... Verse 14, down there, anointed cherub. There we go. Lucifer was the anointed cherub. Cherub. That is a high-ranking angel. And when God drove Adam and Eve out of the garden, what did he put at the garden gate? A cherub with a flaming sword. So that meant, buddy, you're not going back in there again. You try, you're going to get your head cut off. If you ever get to see a warrior angel, you will be shocked. They're 10, 15 feet tall. Their skin is like bronze, polished bronze. They carry armor. They're heavily armored, usually swords and shields, but heavily armored. And you don't monkey with them. All he's got to do is point his sword at you and give you the look, and you better be on your toes. I know.
Who is this?
Warrior angels. As far as we know, they don't have wings. They don't. Some do, some don't. Warrior angels. Ex-witch got his uppance because he and somebody else, they were loosing curses against churches. They were going to go attack this church around, and so they went down the street, and suddenly these two warrior angels appeared in that form, and he and his buddy are shocked on the street, and so they started calling on their fallen, and he wouldn't even show, and so they were scared. They were scared. I mean, they were scared stiff because this is like I'm looking at you and there, and here's these tall creeps, these with swords and like this, and he said, we took one step forward and the angel went just like this and gave that look. He said we turned and ran as fast as we could go the other way. Yeah, he took a step. He said he took a step. He took that sword and went just like this. Zoom! They were gone. But he said that opened our eyes that our demon spirits that are supposed to be our spirit guides were no good because they wouldn't even show. And that began the process for him to get out of witchcraft. He became a Christian. There's a lot of things goes on. This is not the real world, by the way, folks, as you know. And you're beginning to see into it a little bit right now, into the other world. So he's a cherub. And he was given things to rule over because he was a prince. Lucifer was a prince, and he ruled over our galaxy and the earth. It wasn't just the earth, it was the whole galaxy here. He ruled over the whole thing. That was his territory to rule over. And that's why he wants it all back. That's why he wants it back. Okay, read the page. Turn the page, you'll see a picture. Larkin did a great job here. And now we'll take a look at it. Ezekiel 28:12. So here you have what we call angelology. And when you get into warfare school, this is one of the areas we study in great depth about the angels, their positions, what they do and what they don't do. And as you see here, Lord of Hosts, you got the cherub up there, the seraphim. Michael, Gabriel, thrones, dominions, principalities, and powers. Michael is the archangel. There's only one archangel, and I was talking about a lot. No, Michael is archangel. And what is Michael's area of protection, or who does he stand for? Israel. He's their prince for the nation of Israel. Of course, Lucifer, the anointed cherub. And how many angels did God create?
10,000 times 10,000 and 10,000.
It's called innumerable.
Innumerable.
Innumerable. Can't number them, that's how many they were. So if you take 1/3 of alpha and omega principle, that gives you 1/3 of what?
Of unknown.
Unknown.
So basically 1/3 is still innumerable.
Innumerable for us. As far as we know, evil spirits came from from spirits. There are good spirits in heaven. 1/3 of them left too. And again, some say, well, it's the souls of the giants. Couldn't be. How many giants are on the earth? Well, there are millions and millions of them, but how many people on the earth today alone? Just in our generation, how many people are on earth? 5 billion. And for the past 50 years, 5 billion, 5 billion, 5 billion. So you see, and when Jesus cast the demons out of the gathering demoniac, how many demons are in that guy?
A legion.
A legion. How many are in a legion?
10,000?
6.
6.
At least 6,000. Roughly 6,000. That guy could have roughly 6,000 demons in him. You can have a lot of demons in you, folks. Trust me.
So what is Gabriel?
So how do you get them out?
He's a warrior.
Cast them out. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command it out. Oh, we're going to teach you all that. On the road, you're going to learn all that. Spiritual warfare.
Yeah, but we're only ready for the milk, not the meat.
That's right. And there's a lot of stuff you guys are not
This
ready
is just
for.
milk.
You have to get the foundation. Otherwise, you're going to be you'll lose fast down there. You'll be torn apart, and your life will fall apart so fast, make your head spin.
So Michael is the archangel over Israel. What is Gabriel?
Gabriel, he's the messenger angel. He's the top messenger guy. So
Is Gabriel also a warrior angel?
no.
No.
You're talking about a legion. Can you explain that a little bit more? Like a...
Well, in the Roman legion, there were 6,000 men in the legion. Today we call it a battalion,
Yeah,
roughly.
yeah, okay.
So when Jesus, the one guy who used to run around naked in the cemetery, I can't think of his name, and Jesus took the demons out of him,
Yeah.
and he said, and Jesus asked him,
What's your name?
"What's your name?" And he said, "Legion."
Legion.
So
We are
basically-
many, he says.
We are many, right?
Legion. Yeah, there's a whole lot in that deliverance session you can learn from. Goes on there too. We won't get into it right now. We're just not. You gotta learn all this basic stuff first. Be able to stand your ground. Because the first thing the demon's going to do, or all and the satanic's going to do, is going to challenge your authority. See if you really know your authority. You will be challenged. No matter how much of this you know, you're going to be challenged. Trust me. Been through this for years.
Do we know all of the prince angels? No.
But there's so many, how could you know them all? We know a few. There's a few of them listed in Book of Enoch, Jasher. There's a few of them. Raphael, that's one. That's another one. There's only a few listed. You don't need to know unless God chooses to know it. Every angel has his own name. Every one. And they have a work too. So Antichrist in the fallen kingdom, in Satan's kingdom, the Antichrist prince, that's his work. That's what he goes by, but he has another name and we don't know what it is and don't want to know. Trust me. Trust me. Verse 12. Son of man, take up a lamentation against the king of Tyre, saying, and thus saith the Lord, thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Alright, sealest up the sum means to seal up upon perfect in form. So he was sealed up or made perfect. See, first of all, what we're going to see here is Lucifer was not created with sin in him. He was not created with evil. He was not created that way. God didn't put a good side and bad side in him. No. He was made perfect. Perfect. Full of wisdom. Means a multitude of skillful worker. He's not stupid. Satan, even Satan's not stupid, because he's Lucifer. So, And he's smarter than you. I tell you right now, smarter than humans. Only with Christ in you can you stand against him. Luke
19.
10:19. Write this down. You're going to need to memorize this and swallow it and eat it millions, hundreds of times. Luke 10:19. Behold, I give you power. Jesus is giving power to tread on serpents and scorpions over all. A-L-L. All. The power of the enemy. Is there anything that's left out of that all?
No.
Is there anything Satan's in his kingdom is left out of it? No matter what he throws at you, all, sorry, stomp, all. If you were to face Satan himself, you are more powerful than he is because all says so. And he can only do what to you? What's the only thing he can do to you?
Whatever you give him rights to.
Exactly.
What?
Gee, we got a polymath in the
What
crowd.
did you say?
Only what you give him rights to.
What you give him reins to do, the power.
you give him
That's
legal
right. That's the
rights
only
to do.
power Satan has over you is what you give him. What we give him. He has none. Most Christians don't even know that. They don't understand that. Perfect in beauty means complete. Perfect beauty to crown splendor or brightness. So again, he was perfect. He was bright. He was smart, and he was a ruler. Verse 13. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. And of course, you ought to say, well, oh yeah, he was in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, but he was, but not in the one you're talking about. He was in the first Eden, and I just showed you that in Ecclesiastes. What was before is not has been again. Eden was there. And here's another tongue twister, so to speak. Every precious stone was thy covering.
Where's this?
No, that's verse 13. But as you see in Ecclesiastes 1:9-11, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is, it hath been, already of old time, which was before us. So, of old time before us, Eden was there. And of course now we read on. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardust, topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabors and of thy pipes was prepared to thee the day that thou was created. What do you think all that means?
He was covered in an ephod.
What do you think it means? Not a clue, right? Okay, we're going to show you. Precious stones means glorious or splendor, stone, gemstone, foundation, covering, ring, cover, over, figuratively protect, cover, or join together. Taberts is where we run into this. And pipes, they say, oh, he was created with the ability to make music. That is not what it's talking about at all. And as you see, now I'm going to make it easy for you. Just turn the next page until you see the page that says Taberts up there. Great big page. There you go. Easy to read. And it says, drum or timbrels beaten in the east by women when dancing. It is made with wood circles and all that, yada, yada, yada. But look where it says in Ezekiel 28:13, number 2. Ezekiel 28:13. A bezel, or hollow in which a gemstone is set. So the word tabrets here is not talking about a musical instrument at all. He doesn't have the ability to make music like we like to think. In heaven, what's the high priest now? Which you don't know this yet, but the high priest wears an ephod. Remember, the 12 stones for each one for the tribes of Israel. He would wear that. Behind he have the Urim and Thummim, and he wear the breastplate. Sorry about that.
You're almost done.
Yeah, and onyx stones connected. Now, whenever there was a problem, the stone would light up for what tribe it was. And actually, a light would come out of it. And when they needed to find out something, they just reach in and grab the Urim or the Thummim, whatever that was, the stone. It would give them the understanding. So he wore this ephod. And what's that?
How do you spell that?
EPHOD.
And a high priest, a priest wears an ephod. Uh-huh.
You have a cup of water right there.
No, we do. Oh, we do? Oh, thanks. I should use it.
No, I'm good.
So what we have here is, this isn't talking about music instruments at all. It's talking about a priest. And what's the priest do? He offers sacrifices. And this priest here, being Lucifer, was the priest over his there we go, earth. And galaxy, you know, the sun and all the planets, and, you know, big old planet, sun, you know, all that. He ruled over all that. And as high priest, he worshipped God, and they all worshipped God for 4 billion years. That's pretty good, isn't it? 4 billion years. Reading on. And all those stones represent all that, you know, of that thing. Verse 11, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou was upon the holy mountain of God, thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. So the anointed here, cherub, anointed is Hebrew 4473. The expansion, outspread or outstretched wings, anointed or consecrated cherub that covereth, I have set thee. So that was upon the holy mountain, and you can look all those words if you want to look up each one. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Okay? What's the stones of fire? Man, want to take a shot at that? What do you think stones of fire were? As far as we know, these are the princes of God. Possibly. Thou was perfect, verse 15. So you see, thou was perfect in thy ways in the day that thou was created, till iniquity is found in thee. So God didn't make him with sin. He was perfect for 4 billion years. That's a long time. Perfect. It means truth, undefiled, complete. He was truthful, he was undefiled, and he was complete in ways in the day that was created. Till iniquity. Now what's iniquity? Evil, moral evil. Self-determination. Iniquity, perverseness, unjust, unrighteousness, wickedness was found, appeared in thee. So where did this come from? It was a self-determination. How could he do that? How?
Because God gave him free will.
Free will. And what did he give all the angels?
Free will.
What's he give every creature in his creation?
Free will.
Free will. And the proof is, 2/3 chose to stay. And God says, you guys make a choice. 1/3 says we're leaving. 2/3 says we're staying. They made a choice. Angels made choices. They're not just mindless automatons or mindless creations. They make choices, and they serve and worship God because they want to. And they're sentient beings, by the way. They can make decisions on their own too. Anybody know what angels eat, by the way? You know what angel food is?
It's a really good cake.
What is it?
Manna.
Leaves, no, manna. Yeah.
Was the Lord supplied for the Israelites?
Right, because manna is perfect food. But that's angel food. Angels eat that in heaven, manna. God provides for them.
Every morning, the Israelites would collect the manna that was on the ground for them to
That's
eat.
right.
When Moses,
But manna could be anything?
No, manna is a food. It's
They
a
would
heavenly
grind it
food.
and make like flour, and
Manna.
bread.
It's the Old Testament.
It's in Exodus
Yeah, yeah. It's
about the manna.
right, and it's a perfect food. Yeah, you don't need none of this. Angels
It's
eat it.
money these days.
Yeah, angels eat it.
It supplies all your physical needs for your body.
So we see God didn't make him evil.
Without making you fat.
Yeah. And
Where can we get some manna?
I'm
All right.
telling you.
well, you have to get your glorified body. Okay, question. Does the glorified body eat? Does the glorified body eat food?
Certainly.
Yeah.
How do you know? Everybody's going, yeah, but
Well,
prove.
because the
Tells you to
angels
eat.
would eat, and they're in their glorified bodies.
Because they
But-
had the trees in the garden for Adam and Eve to eat from. Before they made that choice.
God tells you to eat, doesn't he? The word.
You guys, I don't know.
Weren't they
Naughty,
under-
naughty, naughty.
Glorified
When
body.
Jesus rose from the dead, what did he do?
He broke bread with his brothers.
He walked to the road to Emmaus and stopping it. And when he appeared in the upper room, what did he say? He's going to eat with them
Right.
in heaven. And what kind of a body did he have?
His glorified
The
body.
glorified body. Right. You eat. Now, does the glorified body have waste?
No.
No. There is no waste.
So what goes in doesn't come out.
Correct.
body
Because
uses
first of
every-
all,
That's gonna be wonderful,
I'm
guys.
telling you, no more wasting that time.
yeah, that's right,
No
because
more going sitting on the throne.
there is none, because you don't need it, because about your glorified body, you only eat whatever it needs, and that's it. It'll be like perfect food.
No
What you
gluttony.
put in will be utilized without any waste from
Right,
it.
you won't be eating the wrong stuff.
No more Big Macs and French fries.
Now, here's another one that's gonna slap a lot of people in the face. Is there reproduction in heaven?
I
Yes.
would say no.
Correct, no. You no longer have sex organs in the glorified body, because there's no need for reproduction. It's gone. There's a different kind of love. The sexual love is gone. You have the perfect agape love, which is 10,000 times better. And if you ever step into this kind of glory, you'll understand it. No, there's no need for reproduction, so there is no sexual organs needed. There you go, perfect.
Now, do you love everyone the same when you're up there?
You with agape love.
God doesn't love everyone the same because then his love could be measured.
I'm saying, would you love an enemy
Well,
of
There is
yours that
none.
was up there?
There is none.
Well, while you were on earth, he was your enemy. But you're both up in heaven now.
But yeah,
Your
and
glorified
if
body,
he's
you
in
don't
heaven,
have
guess
no
what?
feelings of hate or anger
no.
and,
He's a brother or a sister.
yeah.
Right. And if you ever get the opportunity to step into this kind of glory, you'll understand it better. It's nothing you can ever understand. You have to experience it. I experienced it once. I'll tell you about when you do, every molecule in your body comes alive and it's just flooded with the presence of God and the love of God, and you do something. It's a whole beyond than you can
You
imagine.
change.
Yeah, it changes you. Sure, it will. It'll change you. And it's coming for the end time. It's part of the Ezekiel 37 which studied. Great army. Okay, read on. I got another minute. I got to give another minute with you. Well, maybe we should just end there, verse 15, because next time 16. So we see, and when we get down here a little further, verse 15, the sanctuaries, Lucifer's sanctuaries, is a holy place, a place of worship, or a palace. He had a palace and a place of worship. It was in Babylon, the first Babylon. And that's where he ruled and reigned the earth from, out of Babylon. And he was the high priest.
So we ended at 15?
Yeah, we're going to end at 15 this time.
Okay.
Okay, we're out of time. So, any questions so far? I mean, is there anything new I got out of you?
No.
You always give us new and amazing information.
Right.
I can only give you what God gives me.
Now we can go and think on it for the next several days.
That's right. That's right. Because every time, see, this is milk stuff, folks. This is milk.
I know a lot of milk.
To get to the
You're
meat.
gonna be tired of feeding us by the time we get done.
No, actually not. Like I said, you're my living epistles. I'm writing on you, and you're going to go out and take everything you've learned and do the same thing and give it to somebody else.
And we're working our way from milk to cheese.
Light milk.
Where's the beef?
To have, yeah. Where's the beef? Light.
That's down there after fasting and prayer and.
Somebody shut that thing off there.
Honestly, I don't think we're gonna make it to the beef.
Yeah.
We will.
No, I'm saying I think that things are gonna happen a whole lot
Right.
quicker than anyone thinks.
All right.
What do you mean?
I think that things are gonna get rough here pretty
The end
soon.
times.
Well, the end time's on us, and that's
They're moving quickly in that direction.
that's why you need to continue the studies because this is
Oh,
going to be good
absolutely.
stuff. There you go.
It's the first time I've ever
It's here, right?
It's here. That blue bucket's part of it right there.
That's the food?
What? No. In a sense, yes, because when we have meetings, everybody, and what, we don't charge to come in the meeting, but everybody brings something, a can, a Band-Aid, whatever, and it goes in the pot, community pot.
So what do you bring?
Well, when we have
Canned
meetings,
food,
Oh, okay.
birthday supplies,
anything,
seeds.
you could bring a pack of matches even, you know, they have value. But, so that's, but you know,
Case of big
One
lighters.
little box?
yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Do you know how to waterproof your matches? I don't know. Take
Buy
a
waterproof
kit.
matches?
Put
Yeah,
wax
wax.
on 'em?
You take a candle, melt wax on them.
Really? That was very smart.
Did that in Boy Scouts years ago.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sure.
And
The whole
some
stick
hours
and
stuff in the
everything?
Air
You take it,
Force.
you dip it in, cover the whole end of it. You can soak that in water, you know, and you take it out, and you just when you strike it, you knock off the